Hi, this is Accountant Tony Novak with a short video introducing and explaining a little bit our engagement agreement. So before we do any work together, even before we agree on a work plan or a fee or anything else, if I'm going to look even at a document of yours, I may perhaps ask to look at a financial statement or a tax return so that we can discuss it and then discuss working together. Before we even do that, I will ask you to receive an email and reply agreed to this engagement agreement. And it's called a best practices engagement agreement because it's there's nothing tricky or special. It's simply a listing of all of the things that we might encounter, that we're likely to encounter, and how we're going to handle them in the best, most reasonable, most sensible, and safe way. So that's the purpose of an engagement agreement. Essentially it's a written contract that we both agree to, and because it is long, I've decided this year to make this video to help explain it a little bit easier. So I have up on the screen share my own website, tonynovak.com. You will get an email with this agreement, but you can also find it online. At tonynovak.com, if you just do a search for engagement agreement, it'll come right up. This is the most recent version, about less than a month ago, and it does change over time. So we will occasionally update our engagement agreement as technology changes, as the law changes, and other circumstances evolve. But for now, this is the current one. So I'm going to page through this and try not to take up too much time. When you get this, I will ask you to do a couple of things. One is to read it. Second is to reply agreed, signed, so that we have a written agreement. And third is that if there's anything that you don't understand, want to discuss or clarify, then let's talk about it on this tonynovak.com website. I'm easy to reach. My cell phone is listed here, and this button, Let's Talk. We can easily schedule a telephone time, and my email is there as well. So I'm easy to reach and certainly want to encourage communication. All right, so this best practices agreement I meant to put in writing the best practice that we're going to use working together. It's written in plain language, not legalese. It's going to replace any previous agreements that we have, and that's normal as we mentioned, times and circumstances change. And again, it's one of two parts of an agreement. This engagement agreement does not include any work that we're going to do, anything that I'm going to do, anything that you're going to do, any timetable, any fee, or other agreement. This is just the generic platform that we're going to use to work together. And so it mentions that a second part of the agreement called a work plan will contain those types of action plan items. So there's a table of contents, and it's frankly as long as a book in a sense, and that's why it makes sense for me to go through it in this type of video. There's 5 types of services that I could be providing that this type of agreement would pertain to. One is bookkeeping and compliance service. Compliance service is better known to most people as tax returns. So filing something, preparing something, traditional accounting. The second is representation, very important, and the most common type is in front of the IRS. Third is technology. Obviously, most of our accounting, most of our finances are handled online, and we want to make the best use and stay safe using that technology. The third is strategic coaching, and really that's the key differentiator between a CPA and many other professionals that we are supposed to focus, and you'll find that many of us do focus on strategic coaching and advisory roles. The fifth, I have it listed as attestation, and you know it better as auditing. So auditing and reviews and opinions. Basically, anytime someone asks us to verify something, like your mortgage company asks us to verify your income or your assets, that's an attestation. So there's five types of services are what we're talking about here. I'm going to skip over certain portions of that. The limitations talk about the fact that my work is not designed to detect fraud or irregularities or problems. If I do find them, we will talk about them. We'll talk about my responsibilities, your responsibilities, and we will go from there. But my work is not specifically designed to detect any kind of fraud. You're responsible for providing the information. If I don't have the information, or I have incomplete information or outdated information, obviously that's not going to result in the best result. Privacy and security, very, very important. I do have a published privacy and security statement on this website. It's not included in this agreement, but it's referred to, and suggest that you look at it. We take these things very seriously. As far as what I am able to do, or our agreement will enable us to do, unless we say otherwise, is that I do often use client stories without names and without revealing identity or anything that can be attached to you individually. I'm very active publicly in social media, TV, podcasts, whatever type of media is available, to share stories. The idea is that the experiences that you went through might be valuable to others. And again, we're protecting privacy. We're only sharing the meat of the story in a situation like that. I may use individual client names only for verification. For example, if you're a new business client and I have questions, and you say you do banking with a bank down the street, and I know the president there, I may call and say, hey, I'm thinking about working with so-and-so. What do you think? And so for that type of reference and referral type of situation, I would not, to draw a contrast, if you're going through a bankruptcy or thinking about a bankruptcy, I would not call the bank president and say, hey, I'm thinking about representing so-and-so in their bankruptcy planning. That would be across the line. That wouldn't happen. Use of business names a little bit different. That is a little more liberal. Most of my business clients do want to cross-promote brands. I do want to say that I'm working with a great new fisheries company or a great new restaurant in the area, and we would discuss that ahead of time. But in most cases, I would share the names of the business clients that I'm representing. It's important, particularly for a CPA that has a reputation in a certain niche. I have a reputation in the nonprofit area, the fisheries area, the restaurant area, and with local contractors. So I do tend to share those names so long as we've agreed to that. Online document handling. I use a secure portal that is only you have access to it. It's a very safe way to transmit information both to me and from me, and I will provide that. You don't have to use it, but that's the default method of transportation. I'm required to keep documents for a certain amount of time. In many cases, like for example, if I'm required to make available copies of your tax returns that I prepare, they're going to be on that portal, and they're going to stay there for the length of time that we want to make them available, for at least as long as it's required by law. I generally don't handle paper. So if we handle paper, we'll actually have to make special arrangements for that. And this basically says, the agreement says that if I get paper, I'm going to handle it as quickly and get it back to you as quickly as I can. The timing of our work is important in any engagement, and we're going to specify that, and going to try to stick as closely to that. If I'm not able to stick to a work schedule for whatever reason, I'm going to write to you with a modification of work plan. Didn't get your W-2 in time to file your tax return by the deadline. Therefore, let's agree to file it as soon as I get the information from you, that type of thing. Communications comes next. And I encourage frequent informal communications. I intentionally make my text message, my cell phone available, and I don't mind getting those messages outside of work hours. If I'm able to answer and I feel like it, I'm not with family, I will answer then. If not, I'll answer certainly by the next business day. Yeah, I try to provide progress update communications at least once a week. We differentiate between secure communications, the portal, and non-secure communications. If you choose to use text messages, email, postal mail, whatever you choose is fine by me. I'm just pointing out that that's not the highest level of security that's available. And whatever you choose, I will match that and respect that. If you text me a question, I will text back the answer. If you request a document by email, I will return it by email. So I'm essentially matching your level of security concern. I do have a pricing page online, but the point is in most cases, we've discussed it in advance, and certainly always we're going to agree to it in writing before work starts. And if there needs to be a change along the way work, we will discuss and confirm that as well. I must increase fees prior to tax deadlines. It's just, if I didn't do that, everybody would wait till a week before tax deadline. And I just can't do that. It's not enough hours. So by saying to you that I'm going to add $1,000 for the last week before tax season, that encourages more clients to spread out their work. In most cases, particularly for new clients, I am requesting $1,000 advance retainer for most types of work. So 2 types of fee agreements. One is an automatically recurring monthly fee. That is the most common. That's what most people want. That's what I find most efficient for building successful long-term relationships. Not all work is meant to be ongoing and never ending. So there is a single matter fee. It's a matter of filing a certain report, doing an audit, filing a tax return, and without the intention of continuing service beyond that, we can arrange it as a single matters fee. There's additional fees, not too special mail collections fees, payment processing. Those just I would almost call them nuisance things. Hardly ever come up. Fees after the end of engagement. It's possible. Again, doesn't come up very often. But if we have to maintain records or make copies, for example, for a court case years later, they would be negotiated at that point. There is going to be. This is just saying there's going to be some fee for that type of thing. Third-party services. This is sort of important. I do try to get the best deal for clients on things that we use often, like, for example, payroll services. QuickBooks is a very common thing. In most cases, those companies offer me a discount. When I get a discount, if I'm reselling that to you at a specific price, I need to disclose that I'm getting it at a discount and selling at a higher price. In reality, in most cases, I'm absorbing those fees, paying them out of my firm, and we're just setting one higher general fee that covers everything, covers the work and the service. But again, if ever I'm reselling something and marking it up, you'll know those details. All right, so payment is due when I send an invoice. Generally, it's a matter of communication. We've generally talked about when it's coming in. The only hard core thing for tax returns, payment has to be in before I hit the file button. There's legal reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it here, but that's always the case with any reputable tax preparer. Our work will include a ending date unless it's intentionally meant to be ongoing. So if it is a limited term engagement, there will be an ending date. So after that work, if a question comes up, oh, I forgot to ask you about that, we need to enter a new engagement agreement. What happens if it doesn't go as planned and one of us wants to or needs to get out early? And sometimes if it's not going well and there's a dispute, what do we do? So in this case, this agreement says that essentially what we do is either of us can cancel at any time. The fees paid are left alone. And if there is a dispute in fee, we split the difference. That is meant to avoid litigation, meant to avoid other problems, and just make a simple answer and way to move forward. Common situation, I'm skipping around here a little bit. I mentioned post-engagement questions. Reopening and amending the tax return. This is a huge deal lately. Amending a tax return is often more work, more complicated, and more risky than filing the tax return itself. And I simply point that out. It's not an extension or included in the original engagement. We will have to consider that separately, the pros and cons, and whether we want to do that. Local taxes, this is mostly Pennsylvania people. A CPA or a tax preparer generally is not allowed to just file your tax return. We don't have the ability to log on to the local tax return processor and file that tax return. So in most cases, it's not included in the engagement. If we specifically want me to, we'll make arrangements. But in most cases, it's less than 5 minutes for you to take the form that I give you and just file it yourself. The instructions are right there, and it's very easy to do. Oops. In the event of audit, more than ever, millions of people are getting examination notices of some type. There is no included agreement for me to represent you. In most cases, we will talk about it. We will decide on a course of action. In most cases, my ongoing engagement agreements for ongoing clients include the responsibility for answering any audit letter, and that's basically the purpose of keeping them ongoing. But once the engagement is over, there is no responsibility to answer that. In most cases, I would want to discuss with you, and I would want to suggest that you not answer and let me answer in most cases. Penalties. There's always a risk of tax penalties, particularly interest and penalties. Don't assume that if you have a CPA, that the CPA is responsible. I'm surprised how many people assume that that's not the case. If I mess up, yeah, I'm responsible, same as in any other business. In most cases, it's not that clear cut. And in most cases, I'm not assuming responsibility for penalties. And it's important to understand that in the beginning. I'm going to skip over coaching and advisory services. Legal advice is important to mention. There are certain things that I'm allowed to do and certain things that I'm not allowed to do since I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to read them, but they're listed there. Specific actions are not included in the practice of law, and I do commonly engage in that specifically with my background in employee benefits. I'm comfortable and competent and a frequent practitioner in the field of employee benefits documents, and also lately a good number of small business formations, creating a nonprofit or creating a LLC. Those types of things are certainly allowed and probably more efficient to have an accountant do it than other available means. I'm going to mention this acceptable public online behavior. This crazy world has gotten so out of hand in some cases. There is a published online acceptable behavior policy. If you, let's say you were one of the insurrectionists last January, there's a good chance that I would finish up my work and discontinue work after that. It's as simple as that. There's no debate or argument or discussion. It's simply that I would back away in the event that that your behavior was deemed to be embarrassing or harmful to me in this firm. So it's it's simple as that. I'm a New Jersey CPA, licensed in New Jersey. We can do business in any other state through reciprocity agreements, but the engagement agreement is formed in New Jersey. And finally, electronic signature. Everything we do, I mentioned the first thing about responding with an agreed. That's considered a legally binding contract, and our agreement here says that in the event that some third party, say a court or the IRS, says we need a manual wet signature after I've accepted your electronic signature, that you will provide that to me on request or to the third party. All right, so that's it. I am happy to answer any questions. If you watched this long, thank you for watching. The intention is to have a long and successful working relationship together. I'll stop this and end the video and happy to talk about the details at any time. Thanks.